Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube. If you have not been following along, I am currently on week 3 of my rebound phase post the Dallas Europa. If you haven't seen my training day meal plan, you can see the link above. I go over kind of how I put this rebound diet together and what my training day looks like, which is pretty high carb. I think when I made the video I was on 450 grams of carbs, but now I'm up to 600 grams because my weight kind of stalled out in around 228. Now I'm currently at this time I'm sitting around 235. And what I discussed last time was on my off days I was going to be having these 0 carb days. And I've done carb cycling in my past. I've tried different, I've done keto, I've done all kinds of different diets, and my last rebound phases, I've just always pushed carbohydrates high, and the only thing that changed on my rest days and off days were just taking out peri-workout nutrition. So there was a calorie drop just from not having that that peri-workout calories, but also there was a drop in energy expenditure because I wasn't lifting that day. So ideally, there's still this like calorie surplus there. And being a calorie surplus every single day and high carbohydrate every single day, you lose that insulin sensitivity and you start accruing more body fat. And in my past rebounds, I think I did gain body fat a lot faster, and I had a lot more water retention occur quicker. And you start getting those lower back pumps that are just terrible, and it makes training limited. And then your rebound phase just dies off quick. And so going into this, I was thinking about, how can I really extend this phase and get the most out of maintaining these post-show conditions that are so productive to growing? And also for a health aspect too, I think having a day that's just lower in calorie and lower in carbohydrate, you're not constantly stimulating all these anabolic processes, is good just from a longevity and health standpoint. And also digestion-wise, pushing so much carb that can expand and cause all this bloating all day long, even though you're eating good carbohydrates that maybe they do digest well, it's just a large food volume that I'm always doing. So with keeping waist size in mind, it's nice to go to these high fat days. So with that said, my current setup for these 0 carb days is same protein's the same. It's 250 grams of protein a day. On my train day, I do have a post-workout shake, so that my train day is 290 grams of protein, so it is dropped down. But I do 200 grams of fat, so it is very, very high in fat, and it's still about 1,000 calorie difference between my training day diet and my off day diet. So it is definitely below my maintenance level. And I had added 40 grams of fat in because when I was doing this previously, these past few days, my weight was dropping quite a bit on my off days to where I wasn't actually increasing in body weight. So I added 40 grams of fat in, and now I'm currently doing these near 0 carb. I call them 0 carb, but there's no direct source of carbs. My almond butter and stuff has carbs in it, but now I'm doing them every other day. So I'll follow a higher carb day on an off day, then the next off day I will do my higher fat day. So that's what my current setup is. So we'll go through some of the meals for the day and y'all can see what I'm eating. So for meal 1, I just go with 5 whole eggs. It's very, very simple, but I do an omelet, which I've learned that if you throw your eggs in the blender or the Bullet Ninja, whatever you got, whip some air into them, makes them super fluffy, and makes like a much better omelet. So that's totally new to me. Y'all might have already known that, but 5 egg omelet is a pretty large food volume, so it's nice in the morning. I'll still do my cardio on my off days, so this is right after I'm doing my cardio. And I'll do 50 grams of avocado, 100 grams of spinach. And I'll do one, it's like HEB's, like our grocery store in Texas, off-brand of Laughing Cow cheese, which Laughing Cow cheese is like 25 calories a slice, like 1.5 grams of fat, so it's very minuscule. But you get a really good taste to add into your omelet. So I'll mix the spinach, the Laughing Cow cheese, and also some G. Hughes barbecue sauce. I'll mix all that together to go into the omelet. And I found that like cooking my omelet and leaving the lid on top, it cooks so much better. And you know, you don't have this like big mess of uncooked egg when you are flipping it over. So I found like that's helpful for me when making these omelets. Other things I put them on, I just add on some no added sugar ketchup to the top of it, and that's it for that meal, which it makes it around 30 grams of fat and a little over 30 grams of protein for this meal. All right, so getting into meal 2, I try to just vary protein sources here. So I do 90-10 ground beef, so it's a fattier beef, so it's like 20 grams of fat for 6 ounces. And it's definitely intentional that I'm picking fattier meats, because if I try to stay all lean meats on these fat days, I just won't hit the calories. It'd be no way, unless I'm adding a lot of additional oils or nut butters and stuff like that. But it's very nice to be able to have some fatty meat for a change. I'll do that, and I'll also do 30 grams of I did cashew butter with this meal, but I have a few different nut butters that I rotate between, whether it's almond butter or peanut butter. But for this meal, I went with cashew butter and 100 grams of spinach. So I'll rotate the beef. I'll go between like flank steak and then also between this just ground beef. We'll come across some grass-fed beef. That's a good deal. If not, we'll just go with the beef that's in the store. I'm not trying to break the bank buying some premier grass-fed beef, but if I come across the deal, yeah, I will take advantage of it. First thing right off the bat, like with these first 2 meals, is that my waist stays so much tighter during these days. I've heard some other I've talked to some other pros that have switched to like keto diets that have like resolved digestive issues that they were having, whether it be from grains or something, but they were having like IBS or ulcerative colitis and different things, and just going to a high fat approach seems to have some good effects for digestion. So, but I could definitely attest to that on these days, that my digestion is really good. Down to meal 3 on my fat day. I just got done training someone, so I'm at the gym. So for meal 3, I'm doing 6 ounces of, this is Atlantic farm-raised salmon. So usually people give you shit for using farm-raised salmon, which ideally I would pick wild caught. One difference you might not know is like for 6 ounces of wild caught salmon, like sockeye, it's 10 grams of fat, while if you were going with Atlantic salmon farm-raised, it's 20 grams of fat. So the fat doubles with the Atlantic farm-raised salmon. And they're actually higher in omega-3 because it's higher in fat. But so on this high fat day, man, I just save the money and I just go with the Atlantic salmon. And I use 100 grams of avocado and 100 grams of spinach. So this meal, we're looking at roughly about 40 grams of protein and then 35 grams of fat. And for the salmon, I just cook it in the oven, 450 for about 20 minutes. I'll check it with thermometers, make sure it gets up to about 145. It's a good temperature for salmon. Seasoning wise, I don't put anything on it. And condiments, I use a little bit of ketchup, sugar-free ketchup. Haven't done a lot of salmon in my past off seasons, but I just like it. I've enjoyed something different than chicken and beef that I was using all on prep, and it digests really, really well. So it just sits light. So it's nice on my high fat day doing these foods. They just make my waist feel so much smaller, and I feel less bloated. So that's meal 3. All right, guys. So I'm at meal 4 number now, and back from the gym. I'm doing 6 ounces of shredded chicken, 100 grams of spinach. I'll do 100 grams of avocado, then also 30 grams of cashew butter with this meal. So we're looking at about 30 grams of fat, 40 grams of protein. And this day I do get pretty hungry. It's like 1,000 calories less than my training day, but these meals it's a lot of fat and protein, which is supposed to give you good satiety on these days, but it doesn't. I'm used to these like high carb meals, so I get pretty hungry throughout the day. But it's definitely a nice change up. Another thing about my off day doing these fat days on them is that I don't have the time where I'm doing my weight training and have all the fluids I take in, and just training in general starts to suppress appetite, and that takes a big chunk of my day. So my meals end up getting more spread out because I'm not on my training days. So I think that also adds to having some hunger come into play. Alright guys, so I'm down to meal number 5 now, which I go back to a beef meal. So I'm doing 6 ounces of 90-10 ground beef, and I do 100 grams of okra, and not fried okra, just regular. I do frozen okra. I really like it with all my meals, my beef meals. It goes well with it. It's kind of slimy, so some people don't like it, but it gives a lot of moisture to the food. So if you have meals that don't have a lot of fat in them, okra is a good option to get some moisture to it. Of course, this is a fattier beef, so it's plenty moist. I would have avocado with this meal, but I ran out of avocado, so I'm just going to do 30 grams of almond butter. So with this meal, it's about 35 grams of fat and 40 grams of protein. For condiments on the meal, I just go with a little bit of mustard and ketchup. The beef flavor pretty good. We use a McCormick hamburger seasoning. It's not a salt-free seasoning. I only use like 2 seasonings, and they're both McCormick. One's like a roasted garlic and herb that I use on my chicken. The other one's the hamburger one, and I haven't deviated in a while, so those are the ones that I really like. If anything, I switch up on my condiments. So, but I mainly stick to these, or I'll go with like a little bit of barbecue sauce on my beef. So that is meal number 5. Only 1 meal left. I was down to my last meal, meal 6. I do another omelet, just like meal 1. So I have my 5 eggs that I blended up in my Ninja. And what I was going to do is 75 grams of avocado and 100 grams of spinach with this meal, but we actually have nearly run out of avocado today, so I have half avocado, which is around 40 grams. And what I did get at the grocery store was some natural Applewood smoked uncured bacon. So there's no like sodium nitrate in it. It's just pork, and it has water, sea salt, and celery powder on it. So it's like better bacon than getting like the ones that are really preserved well. But in 3 slices, it's already pre-cooked. It's 7 grams of fat. So in 1 slice, you're looking at like 2 grams of fat for a piece of bacon, which to have any type of bacon in your off season is pretty awesome. And you can use 1 strip of bacon in an omelet and make the taste phenomenal. So I think there's ways in the off season to get all the foods that you might otherwise neglect just because they're not bodybuilding foods. But I think at small amounts you can fit stuff in to have it enjoyable until you're in prep and you have to like really cut all this stuff out. So my 1 strip of bacon that's 2 grams of fat is going to be in my omelet tonight. So that wraps it up. This meal will be about almost 40 grams of fat and be about 35 grams of protein. That'll be my last meal, and then I'll go back into doing 7 days straight of high carbs. So we'll wrap it up there. If you guys have questions, leave them in the descriptions or comments below. Happy to answer questions about how I do my zero carb days, high fat days. If you have anything that you want to look at and follow me along, look at my blog, because I do post up my Rebound updates on there, or anything for coaching services. So you can check out my website, Coach All Divisions, and we'll talk to you guys next time.